Good afternoon, everyone. I am Shatnis, and this is my story. 2 years ago, I was totally head over heels in love with a guy whom I had known for a period of 6 months. I was dating someone for the first time, so I was quite naive, I would say. I was living in a world of films, of Bollywood, and I truly loved that person. Even if it was a relationship that was not that serious, we weren't really close, but it was more like a friendship. So I met him a few times and my feelings were deepening. I grew more in love with him with every single day. We would talk on the phone and I was already projecting myself with him in a future. I really believed that I was going to get married to that person and make my future with him. Everything seemed perfect. It was the first time I had known what it is to date a guy. I had never dated anyone before that. He was like the first guy I had known, I had gone out with, and all that. So at that time, my family, they didn't approve of that guy for several obvious reasons, but like they say, love is blind. And I thought that everything was going to work out. I truly believed that he was the one, and everything was going on smoothly. It was starting to feel like a beautiful dream come true. I couldn't believe my luck. I felt that this guy he's really good looking. He's exactly the type of guy that I like. So he's perfect for me. That's what I thought. And then one day I discovered that this guy was married, and obviously I got a shock. I got the shock of my life. I thought that at that time my life was over. Just imagine, I was in my mind, I was already building my future with him. I didn't even think of any other guy besides him. I was literally worshipping him day and night. I had never loved anyone that much. So I discovered it one day that he was married. It was totally by chance, by coincidence. I don't know if it's destiny, but I discovered it. And fortunately, I had my friend at the time, my colleague at work, who really supported me. She was like an angel sent, especially for me at that time. Because even if I told my family at the time, since they had never met him, they didn't know anything about him except from what I had told. So even if they understood, I felt like my female friend, my colleague, she was really more understanding, because since the beginning she had been aware of what was going on in my life. I had told her, I had showed her pictures of the guy and all. So on that day I felt like I had really fallen. All of a sudden I was flying very high, and all of a sudden I got a shock. I fell down and I was in a shock. But I kept on working. On that day I was at my job and I couldn't take the day off despite having gotten such a big shock. I had to keep on working, especially with the public. You can imagine, I was crying. My makeup had totally fallen off on my face, and I was working with the public in that condition. It was a really tough time for me, and obviously I broke up with that person. I confronted him, but I didn't make any scene because I felt that he didn't deserve my tears. He didn't deserve to see me like affected by him, and it took me a lot of strength, but hopefully I was able to put a big cross on that relationship. I cut off all contact with him. I didn't let myself be carried away by his lies. He had been lying about everything since the beginning, so everything was based on a lie. And I changed my number. I am so relieved that I've never seen him again since that, and I don't want to ever see him again. So for me today, 2 years later, it doesn't feel like that long a time. I try to not think about that person at all. And what do I feel against him? Do I feel hatred? I do feel like I have been very, very stupid at that time. There were a lot of signs that it was a toxic relationship, that the person was manipulative, he was a compulsive liar, he was cruel, he didn't respect me, he didn't love me, he wasn't really a decent human being at all. But I was really, really naive, like I told you. So I don't think of that person that much. At least I don't feel any emotion for him. I don't feel any attachment, any regret, because it's like a garbage gone out of my life, to be honest. Maybe it's a good thing that he turned out to be so disgusting. It was easier for me to move on. So I am quite proud of myself in the sense that even if I was extremely attached to him, I could literally give my life for him. But when I learned the truth, I totally threw him out of my life for good. And the reason why I'm telling you this today is not to attract sympathy, is not to, how would I say that? It's not because I am still obsessing about that episode or that person, but just to spread a message out there to any girl watching this. If you have been through a similar situation, or if you're stuck in an unhappy phase, if you feel like life is unfair, if you feel depressed, if you feel like something very wrong has happened and you don't have the energy to move on, you can't stop thinking about that person if it's a relationship, then all I'm going to tell you is that you should always be the only most important person in your life. You should never allow someone to disrespect you. You should pay attention to how a person treats you and never settle for less. I am surprised and I am shocked at how I could have accepted that kind of treatment. When I was dating that person, I must say that there were many problems, and he was really a very aggressive type of person verbally, and I tolerated a lot. I was always the one to be making the first step and trying to make things work even when it was not my fault. I tolerated all that, and now when I think about it, when I think it over, I'm not sure it was love at all. It was really, I had a self-esteem problem myself. I was so desperate, so hungry for affection, that I accepted many things which are unacceptable. And of course, I didn't get over that episode in a single day, in a single second. It took me a lot of time, but with the help of spirituality, I dedicated myself a lot to prayer. When I went through that breakup, that really traumatic breakup, it wasn't a normal breakup. I had to start all over again. I had to start my life from scratch in a way, because my self-esteem, my joy of living, my faith in people, my own being, who I am, everything had been destroyed. That person, he had killed me. There is no other way to put it. He had killed me cold-bloodedly, all the way he knew it. But I avoid feeling like vengeful, or I avoid even devoting any single energy to thinking about that person. And today, by the grace of God, I don't know if you believe in God. I myself, sometimes I doubt the existence of God, but with the support of my family, even if sometimes I would expect them to behave a bit more differently, they have helped me a lot. There have been people who have shown me that they really care about me. And of course, I will also take the credit for it, because the biggest part, the biggest job, it's you who have to do it. In my own case, I have had to deal with that pain in a way that was going to be constructive. I won't deny that there were many times where I felt really, really in a dark hole, where I felt like nothing was going on right. I was so hopeless that I didn't even have the energy to wake up. I was so depressed that I had to go to a psychiatrist. I had to be on antidepressants, and I was trying everything, but nothing was working. And at the end of the day, I just allowed myself to feel sad. It's only normal. I don't have to deny. I don't have to be ashamed of suffering. There is so much taboo around depression, and you can't expect to be normal just the following day after you have broken up with someone you love. Some people take a lot of years to get over it. Some people never get over it. And I had been in a relationship which was very short. 6 months is very short for some people, I know. But in my case, it was the first time, my first love story, my first boyfriend, my first date. And for me, 6 months, it seemed a lot. But of course, now 2 years have passed and things are better. Life is more beautiful. I have been able to reconstruct myself. Now I can tell you that even if things are not perfect, there are ups and downs. There are days where I still feel like life is so unfair, life is depressing and all, when I feel lonely. But most importantly, I just want to tell you that there is a solution for every problem, and the solution is within you. You might try everything, you might, even if the whole world tries to convince you that you have the power to solve your problems, unless you don't decide to do it on your own, unless you don't make a conscious effort to get out of this trouble, things will be difficult. So that was my message for today. I don't know what you think about it, but keep smiling, remain strong, and go on loving yourself, because you're a very beautiful human being inside out. Don't let anyone else tell you otherwise. On that note, goodbye.